As a content creator, I feel like the terms community and target audience finally make sense to me. Recently, my 5-year-old learned the definition of the word community in school, and it says that a community is a place where people live, work, and play together. Recently, I had the opportunity to go and walk at a savanna. In Trinidad, it's a savanna called Eddie Hart. It's a park. There's a big field where you could play football, and there is a track that wraps around the entire savanna. There's a pavilion. It's a beautiful place to go and walk at night. There are food trucks. It's wonderful. If you are ever in Trinidad and Tobago, it's definitely worth checking out. On the second lap, I started noticing different groups of people. And as I go into these groups, I wanted to think about these groups as a community that you, the content creator, could be thinking about when you are making your content that you hope would appeal to particular groups of people. Because you need to be doing that, I'll get to it a little bit later on. It took me a very long time to understand it, but I hope that this story wakes up something inside of you that as a content creator, you could realize that it really is important to think about my target audience and the community that I am trying to build. So on the second lap, I noticed the track and field athletes, teenagers. They're probably all in the age group of, let's say, 12 to 18 years old. There are about 15 of them. They're young, they're excitable. You could get a vibe from them that they are fiercely competitive. And they're in their little group doing their thing. Further along, just after the pavilion, is a group of Venezuelans. And they are playing football. And as part of that group, let's say it's about 14 of them. It's all Venezuelans. They're playing football. They're young. They're dressed a certain way. They're excitable and they're speaking Spanish. Further along the savannah, there's the third group. And this group is a group of parents. And they're sitting down under a beautifully lit almond tree, I think it is. And they are looking on at their children playing football. And those children are in the age group of perhaps 5 to 9 years old. And there are 2 coaches and they're going through their pieces. That's the third bunch. Further along is what I want to think about as the wild bunch. And this wild bunch is a group of young men, perhaps in the 18 to 30-year-old age bracket. And they are having a good, rough game of football. It looks like fun. But I certainly wouldn't play with them because I don't think I could keep up one. And it just looked a little bit too rough for me. But they're having a good time. Interestingly, I started looking at the dress code of these different groups that I mentioned and different characteristics that you could be thinking about when you're doing your own content. And I realized that there seems to be some similarities, although they may not even be from the same household. Further along from the wild bunch is a group of seniors, 3 or 4 men who are quietly kicking a ball to each other. Maybe once upon a time they were part of the wild bunch. But on the savannah at this moment, they are simply kicking a football to each other. They're raising the ball. There's a goal standing and they're shooting at it. It's a little goal. When the ball goes into the air, maybe they don't headbutt it. They catch it and they continue playing the game. And each of these groups that I mentioned represents a community. And they have certain desires and dreams and stick together. And as a content creator, I recognize now, and I'm sorry I didn't recognize it a lot earlier on, I recognize now that you have to be thinking about your community and your target audience. There's something else I want to mention, and I want to think about this person as the content creator. At one bend in the track, there's a vendor, and he's selling drinks. He has a bicycle, there's a cooler, and there are drinks on top of the content. On top of the cooler, sorry. And I want to think about each one of these drinks that he has up as the content that he is producing. The drinks that he has up is a bottled water. There is a soft drink, soda, and another drink I can't identify, but I guess it looks like it has a high sugar content. So on the third lap, walking past him, I asked him, I said, how's business? And he said that, yeah, it's going normal. By appearances, I think normal meant a little bit slow, given that it was a Thursday night. So maybe, yeah, business was a little bit slow. On the next lap, I asked him, who is your customer? Do you have a sense of who your customer is? And he says to me, everyone that walks past here. And then I start thinking about the soda or the soft drink that is on the cooler. And I said to him, do people stop to buy soft drink while they're walking? And he smiled and shook his head a little bit. And on the next lap, I stopped and we started talking about who his customers are. Who is his community? Who is he trying to serve? And earlier in the example, I mentioned the different groups or communities that we have. And when you are a content creator, every time you publish a video, a blog post, a podcast like the one that I'm doing here right now, you have a megaphone and you are blasting to the world that I have just published a piece of content. And you are hoping that in the midst of all these groups that we just identified, that your signal will land with a particular person. I asked the vendor, of course, I said, is it okay if I share a couple ideas with you? And he says, yeah, that's absolutely fine. And we started talking about the dreams of his customers. I say, because you are beautifully positioned along the track, you are selling drinks. And I say, the people who have come here, they have come here to burn calories. And chances are they may not buy a soda. I say, you have a soda here because you perhaps want to appeal to the person that goes to the food court and they're walking past you and they say, hey, I think I could try a soda with this box of food that I have here. Who are you trying to reach? He says, I would like to reach the people who are walking around the savannah. I say, what are you selling that is a low-calorie drink that would appeal to them? He says, well, there's water, and I also sell coconut water. I have no idea you were selling coconut water. I say, there isn't something on display. You don't have a coconut bottle on top of the cooler that I could get that impression. You don't have a sign that says coconut water, energize yourself with a coconut water. And I could see the wheels in his head turning while we were talking. And I was learning from the experience as well in terms of the different communities that exist in the midst of all the work that we are doing and the people that I am trying to reach. So I just wanted to share that story with you because every time we post a piece of content, it will do us better if we have a sense, and I think even mentally too, it would do us better in terms of if we have a particular viewer, listener in mind, and we know the community that we are serving. Is it the group of athletes that are in a particular age group? Is it the parents that are invested in their children and they are interested in hiring a coach and they're willing to go out at 8 o'clock in the night with a toddler into to look at that child develop along the lines of football? Is it the young wild bunch that is playing football and they're dressed a certain way and they're probably wearing certain brand name clothing? If I am a content creator in the form of someone who sells drinks, would perhaps Gatorade or Red Bull be the type of products that I'm pushing out? I felt like in that moment of going to walk around the savannah that I learned a lot about community. I learned a lot about target audience and really tailoring your effort so that in this game of content creation, you could win in the long term and you could have a certain set of expectations that are realistic given the people that you are trying to reach. To share one more story, in 2021, my YouTube channel started growing. Even though I didn't realize it back then, I was creating content that was attracting a particular community of people. You see, I met a farmer who lives off-grid in Trinidad and Tobago, and this is for my YouTube channel. And we started making videos. It wasn't planned, but it worked out that way. I don't know where it came from, but mentally I started talking to Trinidadians who have a desire to return home, but perhaps can't because of the pandemic. And they are hungry for nature. They are hungry for the outdoors in the midst of the pandemic and lockdowns that existed around the world. and they were hungry for the past in terms of a simple type of life with an old timer from Trinidad and Tobago that is diligent, that is calm, that is industrious, a natural teacher. I had back then, and I still do. And I'm very grateful for the community that watches my content. I'm very grateful. If you have made it this far in the podcast, because we are about 11, close to 12 minutes in right now, if you are part of the community that I am serving as a content creator, I feel so grateful and for the support that you are giving. And it means so much. And I'm saying this with a smile on my face. And I hope you are smiling too. And I hope I am serving you well. The ideal listener that I have in mind is the content creator that wants to learn what the journey is like. And that is why I am here on a Friday evening recording this episode for you. And I look forward to you listening and enjoying. And if you would like to give me feedback in terms of reaching out, I am on Instagram at Lyndon Baptiste. I am on YouTube at Lyndon Baptiste. You could find my books on Amazon.com. Feel free to pop a line and let me know what you think about the Caribbean Content Creators Show. If you have any guests that you would like to recommend, in the show notes, I usually include a link to a form that you could fill out the information. So I hope this quick story on understanding community and target audience and what it means to me, and that story and that realization that hit me, I hope it is valuable to you. And whatever you're up to, you have a great day. Thanks so much for your support.